The biting cold wind howled across the barren landscape, carrying with it the sound of something unusual. Amidst the snow-covered trees and silent expanse, the barking echoed, a loud, desperate call that shattered the stillness. Max, a German shepherd with deep brown eyes and a thick coat of fur, stood at the edge of a frozen river, his body trembling, his gaze locked on the ice beneath him. Max's barking was frantic, almost frantic enough to cause a stir in the nearby town. But nobody had been listening, not at first. They thought he was just another dog, chasing a stick or simply barking at a passing deer. But Max wasn't barking at anything in particular. He was barking because he knew something that no one else did. Something was out there on the ice, hidden beneath the frozen surface, a secret buried deep within the cold. The sun had barely set, casting an eerie glow over the frozen river. Max's owner, Sarah, had gone inside for the night. The warmth of her home, with the crackling fireplace, was a stark contrast to the icy emptiness outside. She had heard Max's bark earlier, but thought nothing of it, too busy to check. That is, until she noticed the tension in the air. The stillness in the house felt wrong. Max never barked like that. Suddenly there was a thud at the door. It was Daniel, Sarah's neighbor, his breath coming out in heavy bursts of fog. "Sarah," he said, panic in his voice, "you need to come outside. Something's wrong with Max." The two rushed outside, their boots crunching in the snow, their hearts pounding in their chests. There was Max, pacing back and forth, his gaze fixed on the river. His eyes were wide with terror, his body stiff with urgency. "What is it, boy?" Sarah whispered, trying to calm him down. Max responded with another sharp bark, then turned to face Sarah. His tail was low, his body shivering. But his eyes, they were filled with a deep, unsettling fear. Sarah's chest tightened. Something wasn't right. She took a few steps closer, trying to peer past Max to see what had him so agitated. The moment her eyes fell on the frozen river, her breath caught in her throat. There, just beneath the thick layer of ice, she could make out a shape. It was hard to tell at first, perhaps the faintest outline of something that had once been human. Her heart dropped. What could it be? "Max," she whispered, her voice trembling. "What did you find?" It was then that Daniel, who had been watching quietly, shouted, "We need to get help now!" His voice was sharp with fear. Max's barking grew louder as Sarah hurried to her phone, calling the authorities. The sound of sirens could be heard in the distance, growing closer as more rescue teams arrived. But even as the first responders ran toward the scene, Max didn't stop barking. His desperate cries filled the air, urging them to move faster, to pay attention. The rescuers arrived in a flurry of movement, grabbing equipment, setting up ropes, preparing to venture onto the frozen surface. But even as they prepared to break through the ice, something kept them hesitant. The cold wasn't just a threat, it was deadly. Max stood firm, his paws frozen in place, his focus unwavering. Finally, a team member took a step toward the river. The air seemed to freeze around them as they approached the spot where Max was fixated. The tension was palpable. Could there really be something buried under the ice? A rescuer knelt down beside Max, gently placing a hand on his back. "It's okay, boy," he said, his voice soft but uncertain. "We're going to help." But Max wasn't reassured. He barked again, louder this time, as if trying to push them toward the truth. The rescuer took one more cautious step. Then, with a sudden crack, the ice broke beneath their feet. Max's eyes widened. He lunged forward, pulling at the rescuer's arm as if trying to warn him. But it was too late. The ice had already cracked wide open, and the rescuers scrambled to pull the man to safety, their hearts racing with adrenaline. And then, it happened. Beneath the surface of the ice, what had been a hidden secret now became clear. It was a body, an unconscious man, frozen in place, his hand barely visible beneath the thick layer of ice. The rescuers quickly pulled him from the frozen river and began their frantic efforts to resuscitate him. Max stood back, watching in silence. His breathing was steady now, no longer frantic. The danger had passed. The mystery had been solved. Hours later, the man was safely in the hospital, recovering from the frigid ordeal. His story was shocking. He had fallen into the river days earlier, and the icy water had trapped him beneath the surface, his body suspended in the cold, waiting for someone to save him. It was Max's relentless barking that had saved his life. Without the dog's insistent cries, nobody would have known the man was there, trapped and slowly dying beneath the ice. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more emotional dog tales.